Jen, thank you. There's Frankie Corrado, Jeff O'Neill, and Darren Drager. All season long, the buzzword around this Leafs team was that it was different than all of those that had failed before. And for the first 3 weeks of the playoffs, they truly looked different. But on this night, the biggest game of the year, where they really had a chance to prove they were truly different, they weren't different. They weren't even the same. They were worse.
Yeah.
How do you explain an effort like this?
Well, the good news is they got a game on Friday night, James. They got to fly down there and play the Florida Panthers. But tonight they made it awfully difficult for anybody that believes in this team that they can pick themselves off the mat after completely getting caved in by the Florida Panthers tonight. They got slapped around like a junior team. And I can get into specifics about the power play, competition, battles, goaltending, power play, the best players. It was about digging down and finding something and playing the best game you could ever play in front of your home fans, and they failed miserably. Fans were booing. Matt Murray was in the net. It was bizarre how they performed tonight, and they completely caved in the pressure. Their best players were nowhere to be found, and I don't know where they go from here after that performance because it was a mess out there.
This was a complete no-show for the top players for the Toronto Maple Leafs, from top to bottom. And you can talk about everything, system, skill, rush play. None of that matters. This was a game you had to dig in and win battles. You had to out-battle the Florida Panthers, and that's not something that comes easy to this team. It's uncomfortable, and we saw how uncomfortable they were in this game. This is arguably the worst performance that this group has had come playoff time, the whole time that they have been together. You look to your big boys, and in a game, a series against the Florida Panthers, you know exactly what they're throwing at you. There's no surprises from the Panthers. You know what it entails as far as beating them. You just have to find a way to do it, and they weren't even close to doing it in this game.
Borderline shocked, to be fair. I thought on home ice this team would find a way to respond. I thought that Craig Berube would have this team ready to run right from puck drop, and they'd respond to the preparation work after having a couple of days to let the last game of disappointment set in. Well, that didn't happen at all. They were flat in the first period. They survived that first 20-minute frame, down 1-0 on the Ekblad goal, and then it got worse in the second period. So, yeah, you're looking ahead to Friday because statistically there's one more game to be played. But how do you respond after a no-show like that? It's real tough.
When we did the game preview on the early Sports Center, you said 34 was going to be or had to be the best player on the ice in this game, and 16 would have to be not far behind. And can you think of a more unmitigated disaster for both of them?
They were the worst players on the Leafs tonight. That's a pretty sad statement for their best players. I thought it was sitting right there for them to have the night that they would never forget, the biggest moment of their Leafs career. And let's look at their contributions to this game. Both had giveaways in their own zone that ended up in the back of their net. Austin Matthews, how many times have we talked about how strong he is on the puck? His 200-foot game, how good he is defensively. He just gives it up right there, and watch what happens right after. Aaron Ekblad just steps in and puts it in the back of the net. Yeah. This one is insanity by Mitch Marner. A backhand spinorama flip pass into nobody. And let's watch how he tries to make up for it. He just kind of half-asses it back, sticks his stick out. I thought they were going to have a massive night. They were complete no-shows tonight. You couldn't notice them out there.
The thing that's the most disturbing about watching that happen is how many years have we heard these guys say, we're learning lessons. We're learning how to win.
That doesn't cut
it. If you do that,
yeah,
you haven't learned anything. And there would have been people coming into tonight's game that would have been on opposite sides of the spectrum. People that watched the last two games for Toronto and said, we know how this song and dance goes. And there would have been people that were more optimistic about things. This group tonight, they proved the doubters that they were right with their performance.
We'll have all sorts of post-game reaction. Be with you for a while here. Let's start with the Leafs captain, Austin Matthews.
Austin, what went wrong tonight?
I just think obviously the start wasn't great. I think we just, the way that they play, I think we just fed into what makes them successful. I thought they won the net fronts tonight. I thought they competed harder and won more puck battles. I think that's the game. It's really as simple as that. Just little details. I don't think we were very sharp tonight in executing either.
How do you explain that performance though on such a big stage like this?
I don't think there's really any excuse or explanation. it's obviously the only thing we can do is regroup and reset, go out, and we got to win a game to keep our season alive. And I think there's confidence in this group, of course, because we've been able to push back and we've been able to bounce back all year, and it's no different than now. Just looking in the mirror and all of us being better.
What are they doing in the last 2 games that's really kind of hurt your offense?
I think I said it earlier, just kind of winning the net fronts. They got a good goalie, and when he's able to see the puck, he's gonna stop it.
What was your sense of the team at the start of the game? Did you sense nerves, or why do you think the start went the way it did?
I don't know. I like I said, I just think we fed into what makes them successful. We didn't take care of pucks, turned it over a lot, especially in the neutral zone, and they transition well, and they have tight gaps. We just didn't do a good job managing those pucks that we were getting in the neutral zone at their blue line, and they were able to pick them off and go the other way, and it just kind of kills offense, kills plays there.
How do you guys turn the page? How do you turn the page?
Well, there's nothing we can do now. We got to put our best foot forward, look in the mirror, and just be better. That's really it.
How much did you put on your own shoulders going into Friday?
I think everybody's got to look in the mirror, like I said. Myself included. Everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants to obviously win, and we've been a great road team all season long. There's always going to be belief in this group and a confidence in this group from what we built off throughout the year. So we got to go in this game with confidence, and it's got to be our best game of the year.
How frustrating has it been for you to go through a scoreless streak like this one?
Honestly, I don't look at myself as like a one-dimensional player. If I'm not scoring, I'm trying to do all the other little things that make the team successful, that make myself successful, and just try to be an all-around complete player. So I'm going to continue to push and try to score, obviously, and keep shooting. But obviously, all the other little details of my game, I want to do at a high level as well.
What goes through your mind when you see some fans leaving or hearing boos in the middle of such an important game?
I don't think we gave them much reason to stick around. So.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you, Austin.
And now Mitch Marner.
Why do you think this one got away from you guys?
Some sloppy play. Not hard enough working. Gave them way too many opportunities around our net. There's a good list of it.
This is a big night for the group, big night for the team. How do you explain the performance?
I don't think anyone's happy about it. Time to reset, refocus, and be ready for our flight tomorrow and go into Florida and win a hockey game.
Mitch, do you feel like the Panthers have been playing harder the last couple of games?
Maybe. I thought tonight was really the first night that we just didn't, reply well or play our game. And when you do that against a team like that over there, they're going to make you pay, and that's what they did.
Any thoughts coming off the ice tonight that this might be your last home game as a Maple Leaf?
No thoughts of that at all. Like I said, reset. It's obviously not the spot that we want to be in, but you can't do anything about it. We knew this was going to be a roller coaster of a ride. It's not going to be easy. Like I said, we got to have the mindset now to go into Florida and take it shift by shift and win a hockey game.
How do you do that? How do you reset after a tough one like this? What do you have to do?
You go home. You realize that it wasn't close to good enough. You flush it down the toilet. Everyone has their own way of kind of coping with things and forgetting about things. Whatever yours is, just go home and do it. Like I said, relax, do what you need to do to your body to recover, be ready for a hard game.
How do you process the boos and folks leaving early in a game like tonight?
It is what it is. I'm not focused on that. It's you focus on the team and what you can do out there. And like I said, it wasn't good enough from our standpoint, and that's what happens.
What gets said in the room after a game like that?
It's going to stay in the room is what got said.
Thank you, Mitch.
I don't know what you say after a performance like that. Matthew says they still have confidence, and I'm not sure I believe him. You got to say that. Obviously, you're the captain. And
didn't look that way.
Maybe they do, but
one thing that gets me every time, and it went from John Tavares right on to Austin Matthews. I don't know if he picked it up from him, but after a loss like that, where so many guys weren't even close, the key catchwords or phrase words that he tosses out, and John did it all the time, were execution and details. That was so far away from execution and details. It worked and they just.
He did say effort too, though. Too,
yeah, he did.
Whatever it was, And I don't know what it would do for anybody, including the fan base or the players in the locker room, but just some honesty where it was like, we weren't even close tonight. Like, we got crushed tonight, and we got a responder. We're toast. I don't know. I don't think him or Mitch could have said anything to make anybody feel better or confident heading into Florida. No. But to bring up execution and details, like, that's bonkers to me.
And the other words that you hear are reset, refocus. It's almost
same thing after the last game they said the same thing.
And it has the feel of like it's so deeply ingrained in you as an athlete where you're like, I'm not going to let things bother me and then reset, refocus. But I think what the fan base would want to see is someone come out there and have that like moment that everyone's kind of been waiting for, where they're going to grab the bull by the horns and say something that might actually be a little controversial. They don't do that.
That's not happening in this market, though.
It never has happened.
It's not happening in this market because everything that is said by these guys, especially after a clunker like that, is going to be twisted 1,000 different ways. So they're composed. Who's that stick-breaking, fist-slamming guy in that room that's going to speak his mind in front of the cameras? It's not going to happen. That's as close as it gets.
Bottom line is it doesn't matter what they say.
No, but, I mean, Marner said we were sloppy. We didn't work hard enough. You know, Matthews, we got to look in the mirror. We have to have confidence, believe. We've got to play our best game of the year. Honestly, I think that's as good as you're getting.
Even if it was half a McDavid comment, something similar to McDavid last year where he said, you know what, we got to find a way to get down there and drag him back to Alberta. That just kind of... It had a little bit of juice to it.
I know, but no matter, this is a silly argument because it doesn't matter what they say.
But Jimmy, did it not have a little juice to it?
No,
where he
I
said,
know.
We got to drag him back to Alberta. There was just something. Yeah. And you don't have to have, like, the Mark Messier comments, they're legendary, where he said, we will win tonight. I don't really need that, but just something where it's like, we got to get him back to I don't know. Anything.
I guess, and listen,
all I know is execution and details.
You're grasping at straws, right?
Dregs brings up a really good point about the market and how things can really get inflated here. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, like, people, I guess, want to see that fire. And if you can relate it to what happens on the ice, like reset, refocus, kind of vanilla stuff. What did we see in this game? Right. That was vanilla at best by that team.
Well, and you heard Matthews say among the things that they didn't like was how they lost the net front. Why? Why did you lose the net front?
How could you not know the net front's not important? That's the only way. There's only one way to do business against these guys, and it's not easy, and they're big and they're strong, and they force you to dump the puck in, and you got to do it in an ugly way. So it's not about point A to point B or specific battles or this or that. It's just about playing your best game. How come it's always Sam Bennett or the defenseman Ekblad? It's like those guys,
I mean,
they rise up and they score the goals. It's like they can't figure out a way to get it done.
Well, let's see if somebody else has something better to say. Here's Chris Tanev.
What went wrong tonight in your estimation?
They battled and they played, they executed their game plan to a T, and that's why they won the game.
Why do you think the group wasn't able to match that tonight?
Yeah, you know, we're going to move past that, and wasn't how we wanted to play, obviously. So we're going to move past that and get ready for the game in 2 days.
What's the biggest thing it needs to improve, Chris?
I'll take responsibility. I need to be better. So if I'm a minus player, probably not going to win the game. So it's on me. I'll take responsibility for the game.
Chris, do you feel like Florida's been playing harder the last couple of games, specifically tonight?
I mean, it's playoffs. Every game, teams play hard. So we need to match their desperation and their execution because they're playing to their game plan very well, and then that's why they're the Cup champs.
How do you guys reset after this to get it back here for Game 7?
Yeah, it's focus on your first shift next game, and you move from there. Yeah, obviously not the outcome we wanted tonight, and not the result we wanted, but it's something we have to learn from individually, and everyone, including myself, need to be a lot better next game. Is
there a message from the leadership in this group after the game?
Yeah, we talked. We'll keep it between us, but yeah, need to be better.
It's been a long time since you guys lost 3 in a row. How would you describe the confidence level of the group heading into Florida now?
We're confident. We have a really good group that has played extremely hard all year, and we're going to be ready to go on Friday.
Chris, you're a Toronto guy. You know how much this team means to the city. What are you thinking when you see the stands half empty, jerseys on the ice?
Play better.
Chris, the team scored basically 1 goal in the last 2 and almost a half games. Where do you have to get offense from, and how did you get it against them?
Get to the net, get pucks to the net. Start of the second, we had a couple posts, a couple good deflections, didn't go in, but in order to create those bounces, you need to outwork the other team and be in the right positions.
Thank you, Chris.
Leafs forward William Nylander.
William, how did this one get away from the group tonight?
I think they came out hot, in the first there, and then we came out pretty good in the second, and they were just they got scored on their chances, and it kind of just ran away from us. Just gotta play better. That's it.
What gives you the most confidence in this group that you guys can get this back to Toronto for Game 7?
Yeah, we played good hockey throughout the entire season, and battled, and I think that we have it in us. We just got to put it on the line. Just one game at a time, one shift at a time, to be honest. That's all you got to think about.
William, do you feel like Florida's been playing harder the last couple of games compared to the start of the series?
They're always playing hard. They're a hard team. That's part of their identity, and they're doing a good job at it.
What goes through your mind when you see some fans leaving, booing, that type of thing?
Yeah, 6-1 in the playoffs or 6-0 in a playoff game. Understand them.
What was your sense of the group early in this game? Did you sense nerves, or why do you think it was maybe a bit of a slow start?
I don't know. We've had fast starts in other games. Sometimes, that just happens. Like maybe Florida, other games where we won, where we scored early in the game, we had fast starts. They maybe were a little slow. So, that's the way it goes.
What has to be done to get more offense after 1 goal in 2 games?
Sorry?
What has to be done to get more offense after 1 goal in 2 games?
I think we had chances today when the game was close. That's, the only thing you can really, count and evaluate off the game. But, I think we had some chances. I hit the post, breakaway, whatever. It's right there. Then it runs away from us. We're not playing great. We're still there battling. They're playing great. We just got to step it up.
How do you guys reset, get this back here for Game 7?
Yeah, like I said, it's the playoffs. It's 1 game. They owned us today. We got to try to do that to them in Florida.
Thanks, William.
I like that. They owned us today. We got to try to go get them in Florida.
They're speaking from the bad loss script of the things you say when you lose a bad game, but don't they kind of look shell-shocked to you?
Listen, I guess they just got shelled, so that's why they would look shell-shocked. But if this was the legacy game for this group, boy, the script can be pretty epic if they go down to Florida and they find a way to win the game and then extend the series, go to 7. So they're saying all the right things. They just have to act on it and execute, which is another buzzword that we hear from these guys. They have to find a way to execute on that. It's going to be hard. It's not something that's easy. But, as far as this being the legacy game, they failed that test. Right. But they have another test coming up in Game 6.
Well, and he's right. They did have chances. He hit a post, Lawton hit a post when it's 1-0 early in the second period. One of those goes in. It's a tie hockey game. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
That didn't happen.
Kicked from there.
Instead, the defending Stanley Cup champions absolutely took control of the hockey game and rolled them over.
When it's 3-0 in a series, I did this when it was Toronto-Ottawa, and I said, is it over? That's sort of our standard question at 3-0. I don't think I've rarely asked it at 3-1, maybe sometimes. I don't think I've ever asked it at 3-2. But the feeling you get from the Toronto fan base just, online is that it's over. Now.
It's not over, James, but like I said, they got a game to play on Friday night. It just seems like they put themselves in a position where the likelihood of them getting off the mat after that performance and responding, and William Nylander just said, they owned us tonight, we got to go down there and own them. It just seems like the likelihood of that happening, it's incredible to think of the jump that they would have to make as their star players would have to make that happen.
It's not going to happen with behind-the-back passes and stick checks behind the net. So whatever they thought they did well tonight, I mean, it's got to be completely out the window.
Concerning, Frank, is if they had the
180.
stones to try those things tonight, why wouldn't they have the stones to try them on Friday night? It's crazy stuff.
As much as those were massive mistakes, and this was a disastrous effort, we do credit to Florida here, who basically after Brad Marchand's OT winner, the first of 9 straight Panthers goals, which really has defined and turned around the series before Nick Robertson's meaningless goal late in the game. How did the Stanley Cup champs become the Stanley Cup champs again?
I mean, they're a deep team, and we see that depth on display. And tonight, they got a lot of offense from their blue line. They hadn't had any offense from the blue line since Game 1 in this series, but sure enough, the Florida Panthers find a way to prevail, and we saw it where, Aaron Ekblad is going to contribute, and yes, you get some bounces to go your way, but on a night where nothing went well for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it was some of the other guys who pitched in for the Panthers, and that makes it even more difficult. Yes, you get a bad bounce off the stick of Scott Laughton. It's an unfortunate break for them, but then, you win a battle on the boards, defenseman blasts a puck past your goaltender. Yeah, that's one that the goalie wants back, but, I mean, that's the kind of night it was for Toronto where everything went right for the Panthers, but they deserved, the Panthers did everything to go right for them.
Let's see what the Leafs coach has to say. Here's Craig Berube.
Craig, what went wrong tonight? Why do you think it played out the way it did?
Well, first period, just they outskated us, really. They had the puck, won the races, we just played slow. They were fast, they were on us, they were hungrier, that's the first period, and that sets the tone for the game.
Big night for the team, big night for the franchise, the fans. How do you explain that, start that performance on such a big stage?
Yeah, it's hard to explain it. We all got to be better, myself included. You can't start the game that way. That's a big thing for me. Sets a tone for the game. I don't have an answer for you for why. Sports, things happen.
Is there any extra disappointment that it's your top players making some of the defensive errors, throwing the puck into the neutral zone?
No, I don't think it's more disappointing than that. I think it's, I'm not going to look at a certain group of players. It's everybody, myself included. There's mistakes, a lot of mistakes. And, for me, mistakes happen in games, but it's the way they happen tonight, that's disappointing more than anything. And, we will be better next game, but it's just disappointing for all of us here, the way we came out in the first period and the way we played. That's really the biggest part of it all. That's the biggest thing I take out of the whole game.
Craig, with your first line specifically, what do you think they need to do better going forward in the offensive zone? And do you anticipate maybe any juggling of lines for Game 6 after what you saw tonight?
I juggled the lines a lot tonight. Did you see any different result? I don't think lines have anything to do with it. It's they're going against the Barkov line for the most part, and if you look at the matchup throughout the series, it's pretty tight, and it's there's not going to be a lot of room out there. They're doing it. They've done a good job up till tonight of doing a good job against that line, and that's part of their job. We all, I get it. Our top guys we need them to produce, but they've done a lot of good things up to this point. Tonight, wasn't a good game for anybody. All of us, was not a good game.
Hey, Craig, a lot of the guys are talking about resetting in the next 40 hours or so, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you do that if you have a fairly good idea that the Panthers are going to come just as hard as they did just now?
Well, I don't think they came any harder than they have, to be honest with you. I think we let them come tonight. Well, we stood around and watched. You can't do that. So, we've responded in the past, and I expect a response from our team, and we'll talk about things and, make some adjustments that are needed. but it's more of a mindset for me going into this game 6 than anything else. It's not X's and O's. We know what they're doing, and they played a simple game tonight, and they were excellent at it. Very good. I mean, they did exactly what they needed to do. And up to this point tonight, you know, it's been a good series. And tonight was a tough game.
Craig, can you continue to dress Max Domi in light of what seems to be happening every game?
Oh, in what way? The penalties? Yeah. No, it's definitely an issue that we got to talk about and discuss and figure out what we're going to do there. Yeah.
When you're having a tough game like that between periods or after the game, who is speaking up and what's kind of the message being sent by the players?
Well, I mean, a lot of players talk in the room, you know. I come in and address the team at some point, but we have a lot of leaders in this room and a lot of guys, veteran players that have been around, and, you know, they address things. Yeah, so, you know, a lot of times I'm not in there. You know, when they're talking, I come in and address the team at some point, and we head out and play the period. Thanks.
Calm and candid as always,
Yeah.
but no answers.
No.
He just said it. He has no answers for how you come out with an effort like that. And I think
that's where the shock comes in, James, where it's like his shock comes into, and he just specified the first period. It's like in a big game like that where you had to show something, you had to get the momentum back and take back control of the series, and you came out with that effort. That's
Right.
what's shocking to everybody. You even saw it on Chris Tanev's face. He was shocked at what happened out on that ice.
You know, if you think about what the Leafs were up against in the Florida Panthers, if the Panthers are going to rev things up before the game, like, we also have to keep that in mind. Like, they are capable of getting themselves to another level, just like the Leafs are trying to do.
Sure.
So if both teams are sitting in that dressing room and they're trying to get themselves ready to start a game, who do you trust more? You trust the Panthers that have been there and done it and know exactly what it takes? And
So
like,
are you
we
just
saw
saying that in the, like, you can talk about effort and all this stuff, but it doesn't matter because the Panthers are just better at, not just saying better at hockey, but better at this.
better at getting
better at
themselves
playoff
ready
hockey.
for a big game where they
And the
need a
Leafs
clutch
can't fix that.
performance.
That's not fixable? That's
It's not
DNA
that-
type stuff with the
it's not-
players involved?
It's not fixable until you do it. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know. And until the Maple Leafs find a way to do that in a big moment, in a
Right.
clutch moment, then they don't know what
You
it
know,
entails.
You asked, though, is it over, right, prior to going to Craig Berube? And I don't think it is either, because now I'm wondering what a veteran coach, a coach who's won a Stanley Cup, has in store. I mean, what can he do to better prepare this team going into Game 6? Because otherwise, yeah, you're left with just the shock and awe of all of it. There is zero chance that Craig Berube, the coaching staff, anyone not dressed playing in that game expected that start. So how do you alter that? How do you change it?
By the way, when I ask that question, I think it's ridiculous to ask if it's over in a 3-2 series when you have to win 2 games. I'm just saying that I don't remember a 3-2 series that felt closer to over than
It
this
was like
one.
that one counted for 2.
It did,
It
right?
really did, yeah.
Let's hear from some of the victorious Florida Panthers, Aaron Ekblad and Jesper Boqvist.
Ek, obviously the last 2 games, really good starts that have kind of set the stage for good games for you guys. Just what has it been about the first period that's changed for you guys these last 2 games?
It's just a focus and a mentality coming into it to have a good start. Obviously they took it to us in game 1 and 2, so that's been our focus since, is just get off to a good start.
Jesper, just obviously getting the big opportunity on the top line tonight, have a goal, have an assist, look like you fit in really well with them. Just what was working for you and how did it feel to produce the way you did tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good opportunity for me, and obviously enjoyed every second of it, and obviously helped playing with one of the 2 best players in the world. So I just tried to move my feet and go to the net, and tonight it worked.
Aaron, we chatted after game 2 in that same dressing room, and we talked about a 2-0 series deficit, and you were very confident in saying they won 2 games on home ice. We're going home now. So what? And it wasn't said in a way that was arrogant or trying to make a headline, but you were clearly believing very much that 2-0 wasn't the end of the world. What have you seen that's different from that moment on?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It wasn't, in my opinion, arrogant at all. It was a belief in our group and our veteran group that has been in this situation before. So at the end of the day, the job's not done, and there's still a lot of work to do to go home and recover and have our best game at home in Game 6.
Aaron, obviously you guys got a lot of offense going tonight, but Sergei went over 147 minutes over the last couple of games without allowing a goal. Just what can you say about his game specifically over the last couple, over this stretch?
Yeah, I mean, we trust in Bob like you wouldn't believe. It's unwavering as a team, and we're proud every night to play in front of that guy because he's going to give his best effort and put his best foot forward every night. So there's no worries when you got Bob behind you.
Aaron, tonight you and 2 other defensemen scored. You guys have been contributing offensively a lot in this series. Just how important is it just on a defensive team for you guys to also be able to chip in on the offensive side?
Yeah, extremely important. Depth scoring in the playoffs is extremely important, and to have D, get in on that, as well as guys like Jesper and a lot of guys. It's been great. Love it.
They were good, every single one of them on this night. You mentioned the goaltender. By the way, Joe Woll, certainly not the reason the Leafs lost, wasn't reason 1, 2, or 3. Wasn't very good on a couple of the late goals there, but they've now been significantly out-goaltended in the last few. We talked last game about how Bobrovsky, once he gets hot, can get really hot, Driggs, and it looks like he may be there.
Yeah, because the Florida Panthers are playing the game that we're accustomed to seeing them play, and that's allowed Sergei Bobrovsky to settle in, especially in games 3, 4, and now in game 5. If he can see the puck and there isn't enough net front battle or winning battles, as Austin Matthews, the Maple Leafs, suggested earlier, well, he's going to make that save every single time. I mean, he faced 6 shots in the first period, a total of 31 overall. There was some push in the second period, but I wouldn't say that there was anything that was overall sustained. So the bottom line is it comes down to, yeah, Toronto had some chances, but overall very little pressure. And the Panthers game plan executed, and that allows Bob to do his job.
That graphic right there might be the scariest thing. Well, there's a lot of scary things for the Leafs right now, but the fact that they have to beat him twice in a row.
Frankie, you just mentioned you don't know it until you do it, and I think the Detroit Red Wings were a great example. They suffered. They went to Stanley Cup Finals and they got smoked by the Devils. They got smoked by a bunch of different teams, and you could talk about bringing in Brendan Shanahan to the Red Wings, and he brought some toughness, but I think that whole group, Stevie, and all those players, they found a different level to play at.
Yep.
I mean, you're looking at McDavid and Draisaitl. They found a different level to play at where the other team has no answer for you.
But, but maybe these guys don't have that level. I mean, it's been how many years?
Well, maybe you're right, James. And maybe after on Friday night, we'll be sitting here and we'll say maybe they just don't have the stones to pull it off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what we're talking about here. We can talk about goaltending, and Bob's been great, but they got to find a different level, their best players to get to try to have a way to win on Friday night.
And the crazy thing is, it's not crazy, but we might be talking about one more game, and it could be it. This could be the end of the group.
Well, then the group's not coming back next year.
Right. If it's over in 6, yeah, we're getting our answer.
That could happen, but, I mean, you can't keep...
Marner's not coming back if they lose in 6,
no,
probably.
I wouldn't think so.
Right?
Not in that kind of fashion.
And I'm not hanging it all on Marner, but maybe it is the end of that era where you're looking at the cap space that's available to you, and if you have to commit $13.5 million to a player that hasn't been able to get you to that next phase,
right,
well, you can reinvest that money.
And there comes a point where you're right, he's a great player, but there comes a point you need change, right? You have to, don't you?
Yeah, you have to reallocate the money. If they can't pull this off on Friday night, they have to have a different looking team moving forward.
Right.
Let's deal with that on Friday night if that happens. But it's not over.
We didn't mean to go there, did we?
No. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there.
It was tiptoeing.
You mentioned the group.
It was tiptoeing over there.
I think it's fair after a performance that you have to look ahead. Doesn't mean it's over. They could come back and win the next 2 games, and it would be a spectacular story.
I want to see it.
Right now, let's hear from Sergei Bobrovsky.
Sergei, you've been doing this for a long time and playing big games like this in the playoffs. Is there ever a certain feeling that you get where you know you're really dialed in?
Oh, it's tough to say. Every moment is a big moment, so you don't know how it's gonna turn up. So it's you're just trying to focus on one shot, one moment, and that's pretty much it.
What did you like most about how the team played in front of you, especially early in this game?
Yeah, I think they did a great job. They play a hard game, simple, strong, hard. So it's as a unit, as a 5 guys. So it was good win for us.
Did you feel like something sort of turned or flipped maybe midway through game 3? What's been different?
I mean, I don't know. I try to stay with for one moment and don't think much about the head or behind. So, yeah, it's a playoff. We're happy with the win, but the next one is a big game. So we're gonna reset, regroup, and get ready for the next game.
What did you see on that breakaway from Nylander? Big save early.
Yeah, he had lots of speed, so he's an elite player, and yeah, I was fortunate to get my gap, and that's pretty much it.
Ed Cooley Meeks block a lot of shots in front of you usually, but to see him all get goals tonight, just how nice was that?
Yeah, it's definitely great. The Bo stepped up too, so he didn't play last couple games. It's a big goal for him. So everybody contributed. It's a big team win.
Bob, what's the mood in the room like now, considering you guys are down 2-0 to start the series, you guys rival off 3 straight and then win the game like this? What do you guys have to say? How are you guys feeling knowing you're 1 away from moving on?
Yeah, it's definitely we're happy with where we're at, but we're also humble and focused. So it's again next shift, next moment, and we're ready.
Sergei, you went almost over 140 minutes without allowing a goal in this series. Just what was clicking for you over the last couple of games?
Yeah, it's a team sport, you know. Everybody play hard in front of me, and yeah, there's some good moments. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Sergei. Thank you, guys. We'll have Boqvist.
Panthers coach Paul Maurice.
For Jesper, 2 points, 8 hits. Just what was it like kind of seeing him rise to this big moment, getting back in the lineup like that?
It's kind of a guy that scored big goals for us this year. I think he ended up with 12, but they weren't the last goal in a run. So those are the fun stories for our room when Greer gets one, Gadjevit has one with those guys, because they work hard and they don't get on the magazines, right? They're not the front of it, but it's just special on the bench when those guys score.
Paul, you guys were buzzing early. How important was getting that first goal in the net to sort of open things up there?
It felt important because that game was really fast and well executed by both teams, up and down the ice early. There's lots of really good execution in that for both teams. So getting the first one was important. I thought it flatlined a little bit after that for us. And then probably where the game doesn't break is Sergei Bobrovsky, right? He's 2 or 3 breakaways a night. So I think he was the pivot point in the way that game went.
Paul, it was interesting this morning you referenced the series against the Rangers a year ago and a pivotal game 5 and a big stage in a big building. And I don't know if you were trying to have a premonition for tonight, but again, what is it about your team at critical junctures of series the last 3 years that seems so comfortable on this stage?
Well, that game was completely different than this one. We got down in that game. It was reasonably well played. And then Gustav Forsling tied it to make it 1-1. It was late in the third, well, halfway through the third, and Anton Lundell. The message today wasn't, what it was that goal was a simple goal. We had a middle lane drive and Lundy shot the puck and there was nothing fancy to it, and that was the idea of as simple as we can possibly play here tonight. But silly cliche, more is less was what we were trying to do. This one felt different. Like the first 6-7 minutes of that game, like both teams were very well prepared and came out jumping. And then, you get a couple breaks, Sergei makes a couple of saves, so you get to keep the positive vibe. You get into the second period, you get a second goal's a break, right? Just off a stick, and that's kind of how it turned for us.
Paul, you mentioned Sergei a couple of times, and it seems like he's kind of ramping his game up as the series has gone on. But how much would you say is it Bob kind of getting into a groove, and how much is it of how well the defense is playing in front of him, cleaning up second chance opportunities and keeping stuff to the outside as best they can?
I think Sergei is always available to get into a groove. I think his prep doesn't change, right? The scorer, he has no idea about his stats. It's not how he... But I think recently, and it was true in the latter half of the Tampa series, the guys in front are playing a game he understands, that he has history with this year. He's had stretches this year where the shot total wasn't big for him. He never got warmed up in the game. He didn't get a bunch of outside angle shots that let him feel good about his game as a breakaway. Not a ton of them, so he's kind of trained himself with the style of game that we play, other than the breakaways, which is a silly thing to say. He has a fairly consistent expectation of what's going to happen next. I don't know if it makes saving the puck any easier for him. His anticipation then becomes very good.
Paul, there's a point in almost every playoff series where the two teams separate, and you realize one's going to win, obviously one's not going to win. Was tonight the point where the two teams separated, and now you're in a position to take this thing?
That's a beauty, Steve. You know, I worked here. I've worked here, eh? It was very brief, but I've seen this. So I'll be consistent with what I am absolutely not a believer in momentum. So if we took that concept of what you said and applied it and felt it was true in our room, you would put yourself in a very, very difficult position if you lose the next game.
Steve Simmons tried.
He did.
You know Paul Maurice was not going there. I think everything that's been said, I think the panel is, this doesn't happen often. They've actually said all they could possibly say about this game. So you know what you're going to do, O? You're going to refocus.
Flush it down the toilet.
Flush it.
You're going to reset.
Yeah.
You're going to flush it down the toilet. And you're going to hope there's something in Game 6. Because I tell you what, there's been so many crushing losses during this era of Leafs. You think about COVID and being up 3-1 in the series against Montreal, and the loss to Columbus the other time. The Boston loss last year in Game 7. Those were kind of heartbreaking. Don't you think this was the most embarrassing, maybe, of them all? Maybe not the most painful, but maybe the most embarrassing of them all?
Absolutely. It
All
was
right.
knock, knock, who's there, the leafiest thing ever.
Leafiest thing ever. If you missed any of this on YouTube, you can watch our entire postgame, the last 35 minutes or so. We will be back after Game 6.